It was a cold evening, and the grocery store was nearly empty, the soft hum of the overhead lights buzzing faintly. As Olivia pushed her cart down the aisle, she wasn't in a rush. She never was when it came to shopping. It was one of the few moments in her week when she could just slow down, take a breath, and escape from the endless cycle of work and responsibilities. But that night, something was different. Something pulled her attention to the checkout line, where a woman stood, with two small children, her expression tight with worry. The woman's cart wasn't full, just the bare essentials: bread, milk, a few canned goods. Olivia noticed the way she hesitated before picking up a bag of apples, her fingers lingering on the plastic, before she reluctantly placed it back on the shelf. The little boy beside her, no older than 6, tugged at her sleeve. "Mommy, can we get cereal?" His voice was soft, hopeful. The woman gave him a sad smile. "Maybe next time, sweetie." Olivia's chest tightened. She knew that look all too well. The silent math playing out in the woman's mind, calculating what she could afford and what she'd have to leave behind. It wasn't pity that washed over Olivia. It was understanding. A few years ago, she had been in that same position, standing at a register, her stomach twisting as she handed back groceries she couldn't pay for. She had promised herself that if she ever got the chance, she would help someone else, the way a kind stranger had once helped her. Without overthinking, Olivia turned her cart around and grabbed an extra set of groceries. More than what the woman had picked up: a bag of apples, a box of cereal, fresh vegetables, and even a few treats for the kids. It wasn't much, but it was something. When she reached the register, the woman was already pulling out her wallet, counting the bills carefully. Olivia stepped forward. "Excuse me," she said, her voice gentle. "I'd like to pay for your groceries." The woman's head snapped up, her eyes wide with surprise. "Oh no, you don't have to do that. I want to." Olivia smiled, sliding her card before the woman could protest further. "Please, I know what it's like." For a moment, the woman just stared at her, emotion flickering behind her eyes. Shock, gratitude, relief. Her lips trembled as she let out a shaky breath. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. The little boy grinned, looking up at Olivia with pure joy. "Mommy, now we can get the cereal." Olivia laughed. "Yes, you can." As the woman gathered her bags, she turned back one last time. "You have no idea how much this means to us. I won't forget this." Olivia waved it off, telling her it was no big deal. But as she walked to her car that night, she couldn't shake the warmth that spread through her chest. It wasn't about money. It was about kindness, about making sure no one felt alone in their struggles. She didn't expect anything in return. She didn't do it for recognition or praise. But a week later, something happened that Olivia never saw coming, and it changed everything. Olivia had nearly forgotten about the encounter at the grocery store. Life had a way of moving fast, and between work, bills, and the usual stresses of everyday life, she hadn't given it much more thought. It wasn't that she didn't care. She just never expected anything to come of it. To her, it had been a small act of kindness, something she would have wanted someone to do for her in the past. But exactly 1 week later, something strange happened. It started with a phone call. Olivia had just finished making coffee when her phone buzzed on the counter. She frowned at the unknown number flashing on the screen. Probably another telemarketer. She almost ignored it, but at the last second, picked it up. "Hello?" A warm voice answered on the other end. "Is this Olivia?" She hesitated. "Yes." "Who's this?" The woman on the line let out a breath, as if she'd been holding it in. "You don't know me, but I believe you helped my daughter last week at the grocery store." Olivia's mind instantly went back to that night. The woman with the 2 kids. The hesitant hands reaching for groceries. "Oh, yes, I remember. But how did you—" "She told me about you." The woman interrupted, her voice thick with emotion. "And I just wanted to thank you. You didn't just help her, Olivia. You gave her hope when she thought she had none left." Olivia wasn't sure how to respond. I didn't do anything special. I just wanted to help." The woman was silent for a moment before she spoke again. "My name is Margaret, and I think you should meet someone." There was something in her tone that made Olivia pause. It wasn't just gratitude. It was something deeper, something unspoken, a feeling that something bigger was at play. Margaret gave Olivia an address and asked if she could come by that afternoon. Part of Olivia wanted to say no. She didn't even know this woman, but curiosity got the best of her. So after finishing her shift, she found herself driving toward a neighborhood she had never been to before. The house was small, but well kept, a little worn around the edges, but inviting. Olivia parked and hesitated for just a moment before knocking on the door. It opened almost immediately. Standing there was the woman she had helped at the grocery store. Her eyes lit up with recognition. "Oh, you actually came." Olivia smiled. "Of course. You said you wanted me to meet someone." The woman nodded, stepping aside to let her in. The house was modest, the furniture well loved, and the scent of something warm and home-cooked filled the air. Sitting on the couch was Margaret, a kind-looking woman with silver streaks in her hair and eyes that held years of wisdom. She gestured for Olivia to sit, and once she did, Margaret took a deep breath. "I wanted to tell you a story," Margaret began. "A story about something that happened a long time ago." Olivia listened as Margaret spoke, her voice soft, yet steady. She told her about a time when she, too, was struggling, how she had once been a single mother with barely enough to feed her own daughter, how one night, years ago, a stranger had stepped in, much like Olivia had, and bought her groceries when she had nothing left. "That stranger changed my life," Margaret said. "Not just because of the food, but because they reminded me that there was still kindness in the world, that I wasn't alone." Olivia felt a chill run through her. "That's incredible," Margaret smiled. "Yes, and what's even more incredible is that the woman you helped last week, that's my daughter." Olivia's eyes widened as she turned toward the woman sitting next to her. The realization hit her like a wave. She had unknowingly helped the daughter of someone who had once been in the same position, someone who had been saved by a similar act of kindness. Tears welled up in the woman's eyes. "I never told you my name that night. I'm Rachel, and what you did for me, I can't put into words how much it meant." Olivia shook her head. "You don't have to. I understand." Margaret leaned forward, her expression serious, yet warm. "You gave my daughter the same kindness that saved me all those years ago, and I believe in paying it forward. That's why I asked you here." Olivia's heart pounded. "What do you mean?" Margaret reached into a small box, sittings, on the coffee table. She pulled out an envelope and handed it to Olivia. Olivia hesitated before opening it. Inside was a letter and a check, a very large check. She stared at it, her mind racing. "What is this?" Margaret smiled. "It's an opportunity. When that stranger helped me all those years ago, I promised myself that if I ever had the means, I would do the same for someone else. And now, I do. I want to help you, Olivia. Whatever dreams you've put on hold because of money, consider this a fresh start." Olivia's hands trembled. She had never expected anything in return for her small act of kindness. And now, sitting in front of her, was a chance to change her own life in ways she never could have imagined. But she also knew that with this gift came a choice. A choice that could lead to something even greater, and she had no idea what she was about to do next. Olivia stared at the check in her hands, her mind spinning. It didn't feel real. Just a week ago, she had been standing in a grocery store, making a simple decision to help a struggling mother. Now, she was sitting in a warm, quiet living room, holding something that could change her own life forever. Margaret watched her carefully. "I know this is a lot to take in," she said gently, "but this isn't charity. It's a thank you and a promise being fulfilled. Someone once gave me a second chance, and now I want to do the same for you." Rachel, sitting beside her mother, smiled through watery eyes. "You didn't know who I was when you helped me. You had no idea how that small moment would come back to you. But that's the thing about kindness. It finds its way back, even when you least expect it." Olivia swallowed hard. She had spent years working long hours, struggling to save enough to move forward in life. She had dreams, ones she had pushed aside for far too long. But could she really accept this? She glanced back at Margaret, searching for some sign that this was too good to be true. But all she found was sincerity. Taking a deep breath, Olivia folded the check carefully and placed it back in the envelope. "I don't know what to say," she admitted. "This is overwhelming." Margaret smiled knowingly. "Then don't say anything just yet. Take your time. Think about what you really want." For the next few days, Olivia carried the envelope with her everywhere she went. She didn't cash the check right away. Instead, she thought about what truly mattered to her. She had never been someone who wanted luxury or excess. What she wanted was stability, the chance to finally breathe without constantly worrying about making ends meet. One evening, as she sat in her tiny apartment, staring at the envelope on her coffee table, she made a decision. The next day, she met with Margaret and Rachel again, this time at a small cafe. She slid the envelope across the table, and Margaret's brows furrowed in confusion. "I can't take all of this," Olivia said, her voice steady. "It's too much, but I have an idea." Rachel and Margaret exchanged glances before Margaret asked, "What kind of idea?" Olivia took a deep breath. "I want to use this money to help others, not just myself." Margaret's eyes softened. "Go on." "I want to start something," Olivia continued, the words spilling out faster now. "A way to help families like Rachel's. People who just need a little kindness to get them through tough times. I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it feels like to be one step away from losing everything. I want to create a fund or a program, something that helps people buy groceries, pay for essentials, or just breathe a little easier when things get tough." Rachel blinked, clearly taken aback. "You'd do that?" Olivia nodded. "Someone helped you. Someone helped me too once. And now you're offering to help me. But what if we keep it going? What if this kindness doesn't stop here?" Margaret leaned back, a slow smile spreading across her face. "I knew I saw something special in you." And just like that, everything began to change. With Margaret's guidance and connections, Olivia set up a small community fund dedicated to providing emergency assistance to struggling families. Word spread fast, and soon, donations started coming in from people who believed in the power of small acts of kindness. Rachel became one of the first volunteers, eager to give back after experiencing the impact firsthand. Weeks turned into months, and Olivia found herself standing in the very same grocery store where this all began. But this time, she wasn't just an observer. She was there to offer help to others, just as she had done before. As she watched a mother nervously count her bills at the checkout, Olivia stepped forward, just like she had that night. She tapped the woman on the shoulder and smiled. "Let me take care of that for you." The woman's eyes filled with tears, And in that moment, Olivia knew this was exactly where she was meant to be. Because kindness never truly ends. It only grows.